if people will easily agree that being an accountant, an architect, a lawyer, an engineer, a banker, an administrative assistant is a real job, why would they say that a live streamer, YouTuber, podcaster, digital artist isn't a real job? And the answer to that question is because of ignorance and perception. I want to play a quote that recently went viral. It is from a streamer named HasanAbi, who did a lot of experience, a lot of success in digital creation. You might know who he is. Right now on Twitch, he has 2.6 million followers. I went to Twitch Tracker and I looked at his stats. And in the last 30 days, he has streamed 233 hours, which, if you do the math, is basically 8 hours a day every single day. Right? This guy does it a lot. He has 19,000 viewers when he's on there. He's got hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. And from a Twitch perspective, according to the stats, 92.6% of his streaming time is in just chatting. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, that's where you just kind of sit there and you talk to people who come into chat, into the channel, and just start talking about stuff. And it can go anywhere. Often it'll just be rabbit trails or be talking about a certain topic and it'll go somewhere else. It's just chatting. And so he just chats for 8 hours every single day, right? And so he said something, and this is at one of the very beginning parts of his stream. He said something. He said this. So let me play it for you.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will.
Okay, so that's the clip. That's the clip. And it went absolutely viral all over the internet, apparently. Like, I don't know, must not have been paying attention. I went to watch a video from Ludwig Mogul Mail, and he was talking about it, and it turned out to be a thing from 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why I didn't hear about this. But this guy, that was his quote, right? You know, streaming is hard, and real jobs, it can be harder than a real job. Now, let me just give you a little bit of perspective around this. This clip is 2 weeks old. The fervor has died down some, so I went to his YouTube channel and I went to follow up or listen to what he followed up with after everything blew up, and it was really revealing. First off, in context, he wasn't saying that streamers have the hardest job in the world. That's kind of what people were saying. They were mocking him because he was saying streaming is so hard, and they're like, you know what, want to see a real job? And they were sending him real jobs and all kinds of stuff. But what he was saying, and if you take it the rest of the context and watch the whole thing, he was actually talking about how draining streaming can be on someone, right? Now, his reaction video, the one that came after this, said that he doesn't really take any downtime because he streams so much. You know, all the self-care that he's supposed to be doing is live in front of thousands of people. He goes from, you know, life event to stream, and there's nothing in between. Just so many hours in front of people. And then he shows the reaction that he gets when something like this happens, the reaction he got from this tiny little clip, right? People were saying some really difficult stuff, really, really hard to hear things, really offensive things. And so after scrolling all the Reddit posts, right, showing some of the reactions, they were terrible. Like people saying disturbing, violent, deeply unkind things about not only him, but about his family. He just goes, listen, this is it. This is the point I was trying to make. This is, like, if you look at this, well, how draining and social, like my social battery is down and how difficult it is to do the job that I do when it comes to a streamer. Here, look. And his point was that for him, he's always under scrutiny. Everything he says can be taken out of context, and it can get him in trouble in real time. And because he's so popular, people are actually incentivized to do and say horrible things about him because they profit off his misery, regardless of how true it is. Right? They're looking. They're like tigers in the bush, waiting to leap out and take something so they can make a little bit of profit on it, make a little bit of attention to themselves on it, on the back of just, you know, him, off his back. And the point he makes later in the video is that there are a bunch of people on the internet who do this specifically because they want to hurt people, right? That when he said, you know, this job is really hard, he wasn't wrong. It is really hard, especially the way he's doing it. Now, like from a pastoral perspective, I'm like, dude, stream less, take more rests. Like you've made it. Okay, you could take a day off. I promise you'll be all right. But like there really are an army of angry and miserable and brutal and cruel people out there who are using their platforms to bully creators into breaking or quitting or worse, killing themselves. And that sounds extreme, that you'd be like, why would they bully somebody into killing themselves? That's terrible. Nobody would do that. But it actually is a lot of the comments. And I saw them and I've seen them on other people's posts, right? HasanAbi said that it's not just the mean comments he sees online. It is that people, when he's getting the mean comments, they will also, this group of people will harass him, harass his family, swat him, dox him and his family members, which is, it's got to be so stressful, so scary, because when that stuff happens, like he even gets a call from the FBI because he gets death threats. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine if you were online and you said a thing and then while you were still live, people were saying, someone clipped that, someone sent it out and other people are talking about it. Now you're being doxxed. Now your family members are getting in trouble. Now you're starting to get swatted and you've got, you know, the FBI calling you on the phone being like, people are going to come kill you. Like, can you imagine how hard that would be? Right? HasanAbi understands how hard that can be. So, when he says that being a streamer is a hard job, it is. I worked for Walmart when I was younger. And while customers can be really horrible to deal with, and at the end of the day, you are just so sick of people because of how some of them are really terrible. They make you miserable all day long. They don't follow you to your home. They don't scream obscenities at you the entire way. They don't threaten your life, rob your house, and then go do the same thing to your family and friends. Right? It sucks to be at Walmart. It sucks to work customer service pretty much anywhere, but not at this level. This is a higher level of suckage for someone to deal with. So the situation got me thinking about all the content creators that I've met who have been told that the time that they spend streaming or making videos or recording podcasts or doing their digital art or making music, whatever, they've been told it's a waste of time. You know, their passion, their dream, this wanting to be a full-time creator, it makes them lazy, right? They're accused of being lazy. They're accused of being self-fulfilling. They're accused of being arrogant or prideful. Or the ones who that are full-time creators and have been told that what they do isn't a real job. Or the believers who wanted to use their content creation platform to reach the gaming community and were told that it wasn't a real ministry. Right? You shouldn't do that. That's not our real ministry. And you guys know my heart. You guys know where my heart is when it comes to content creators. I love them. I think they're super valuable and I want the best for them. And so for the sake of those who are doing content creation and for the ones who are listening to this because you were sent this episode so you'd understand, I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a content creator. Like, I looked up the most difficult jobs in the world, right? And they're the ones you'd guess. ER nurse, surgeon, firefighter, soldier, police officer, air traffic controller, astronaut, social workers, psychologists and psychiatrists, sanitation workers, and apparently being an Alaskan crab fisherman, which, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. That's dangerous and really a lot of risk, right? It's really hard work. So if you think about those jobs, in comparison to streaming, in comparison to content creation, YouTubing, making TikTok videos, having a podcast, you just start to think, well, you know, I mean, they risk their lives, right? They risk their health. They face life and death decisions. They're in extreme conditions like storm and wildfires and war zones, and they're facing all this mental, emotional stress, and they work way more hours than is good for them. Like, it's really, really hard on them. How dare you compare? Well, I don't think there's anybody in the world that would say the life of a streamer on Twitch is as difficult as a soldier at war, or as stressful as being an astronaut, or physically exhausting as working on an oil rig. But that's not the question, is it? Right? By that logic, anyone who works in an air-conditioned office doesn't have a real job. Anyone who writes something or administrates something doesn't have a real job because it's not on an oil rig and you're not in a war zone. Right? So why, and this is where we're going, right? The why, if people will easily agree that being an accountant, an architect, a lawyer, an engineer, a banker, an administrative assistant is a real job, why would they say that a live streamer, YouTuber, podcaster, digital artist isn't a real job? And the answer to that question is because of ignorance and perception. Right? There's this old rock song by a band called Dire Straits called Money for Nothing. I really like Dire Straits. Great riffs. Awesome band. I really like that. They talk about in this song, the musician speaks for the kind of people who say that's not a real job, right? That's the whole point. He's speaking from their perspective. And he talks about how, you know, their job is to move appliances for a living, break their back, barely make it by. And then they go and they turn on the TV and there's some guy playing guitar, banging on some drums. And, you know, they're making money and fame and getting women and they're barely breaking a sweat. And, you know, it's really easy. I should do that, they think. And the reason that they think that is because they're of ignorance and perception. They don't know, they don't understand, they're ignorant of what the job entails, and the only part they perceive, the only thing they see is the end product. I was a pastor for a really long time, and there was always this running joke that I only work a few hours on Sundays, because that's really what a lot of people saw. And well, it was usually a joke. I know there were a lot of people who wanted to be pastors because they see it as a cushy job where you get to do a little bit of office work and then you get to pray all the time and you go eat cookies and you go to the coffee shop and you get to stand in front of people and look important. And then you only really have to show up a couple hours on Sunday and then maybe on Wednesday night, right? Now, I know that's true and it sounds extreme, but I know it's true because I've not only heard people say it, but there are a lot of people who drop out of being pastors after a very short amount of time because they realize it's way harder than it looks. They were ignorant of what the job entailed, and their perception of it was wrong. It's like that with content creation. People will look and they will see the 20-minute video. They'll see the 60-second short. They'll see a couple digital comics. They'll hear a 3-minute song. They'll listen to a podcast where a person just talks for a half an hour about something they know about. Or they watch a live streamer on Twitch playing a video game, right? And they think, man, that's easy. They scribble down something on a computer, they talk into a mic for a bit, they play a game for a while. Anybody could do that. That's not hard. That's not a real job. But they don't see everything else. So let me take a minute to elucidate what it's like to be a content creator who's taking content creation seriously. Right? Personally, I'm a full-time streamer, so that's the world I'm in. But this carries over to a lot of other creators too. So let me give you the kind of the top 3 things that I think content creators want others to know when it comes to their job, their passion, when it comes to content creation. Okay? Here's the top 3 things I think they want you to know. Number 1, it takes so much time. Right? I already talked about HasanAbi and how he streams for so many hours. And while it is extreme and a really unhealthy example of what you're, not supposed to do, most content creation really does take a lot of time. I stream for about 16 or so hours per week. The streams often take 1 or 2 hours to prep. And then because the platform makes it impossible for anybody to actually be discovered as a streamer, you take another 1 or 2 hours after stream to send the clips and the segments to the platform so that people can discover you. And that's assuming you just copy paste what happened. It's even longer if you're editing down the video to actually work on YouTube. Like, for example, when it comes to like making a YouTube video, you might only see the end product, right? That 20 minutes. But what you didn't see was the brainstorm session to come up with the idea, the script writing, all the technical setup, the editing, the promotion. If it's a good video, then the editing alone took forever. There's a common calculation online for that. For every minute of a good video, there's an hour of editing that went into it, right? So for every minute you see in the video, that took an hour of editing. So that one 20-minute video could have easily taken 30 or 40 hours to create. Just one video, one 20-minute video. It's the same thing for like a podcaster, right? Same system, same issue, same problem. Just they don't have a camera, they have a microphone. If someone is doing shorts on like YouTube or TikTok, it might only be a 10 to 60 second video, but the grind, the difficult part is not necessarily in the editing, although there are some very well edited, very heavily edited shorts out there. It's hard to figure out ideas. It's hard to do this multiple times per week. It's hard to follow trends and keep up with the platform and the community. And it just takes a ton of energy, time, creativity, risk. And that's just, you know, the content. If you want to grow and you're taking this seriously, you need to be following up with all the comments. You need to be connecting to your audience in between your content releases. You need to be networking and collaborating with other creators. You need to manage all your social media. And that's just the alone stuff, let alone anything to do if you have any kind of team or any kind of connection to a network or you have responsibilities or anything else. If you're a Christian creator and you're trying to leverage the content to build those relationship bridges to serve a certain community, then if you use, say, Discord, and most do, you're basically running a drop-in center mixed with a small group ministry, usually with a core of volunteers to lead, that is accessible 24/7 to anyone in the world. That's a big responsibility. Oh, and by the way, the vast majority of creators have a full-time job or they have a career that has nothing to do with content creation. They're in school taking things that have nothing to do with content creation. They have families and responsibilities they need to take care of. And all the stuff I'm talking about, all that content creation is done in their quote-unquote free time, right? It's done after work instead of sleeping at their own expense. And digital content creation is actually quite expensive to do. So that's number one, right? It's a lot. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of effort. Number two, it is exhausting and it's very risky. I told you already about, you know, HasanAbi's troubles, but small creators face some pretty crazy stuff. If you know a creator, if you are a creator, you probably face some pretty crazy stuff. Most creators I know are introverts by nature, often with mental and physical health struggles, usually with very few resources, but they do what they do because they love it. They love their community. They believe that God has given them this platform as a gift and a responsibility. Right? If you're not a creator, let me kind of put this risk and this exhaustion into context for you. Imagine taking a piece of your heart, something really important to you, something you really care about, personal, vulnerable, and then you bring it out into the world and you send it out to be commented on and evaluated. And the thing that you sent out could never be hidden again. That anyone could say anything without consequence. That could be easily misinterpreted, skewed against you, used against you. And you're doing it all alone. Just you standing there with your heart in your hand versus the world. That's scary, right? That's how so many creators feel about their projects, about their channel, about their song, about their art. They are little pieces of themselves shared out of love and passion at great risk to their emotional self. And that's not the only risk. It's not just emotional risk. Everyone online, you know this, needs to take their privacy and their security seriously, but creators need to do it even more. For example, they could get doxxed, meaning their private information, their private documents, or their location is leaked to the world, so anybody can come find them. They could get stalked. They could get swatted, which is where someone falsely reports some kind of serious crime at your home, and the SWAT team comes smashing through your door, and that you're like, that doesn't happen. It happens a lot, actually. If they're on a live platform, they often face harassment and bullying and hate speech and all kinds of cyber attacks that they have to deal with right in front of their audience. And it is worse if they're female or part of a minority group. Actually, I'm going to be talking about the issues that female creators deal with in the next episode. It can be really, really horrible sometimes. And for that matter, if things even go well, let's say everything goes well, they like it. You can have your content creation stolen. You can have it copyright striked falsely. It could go viral in a bad way, and you could end up with a ton of hate that you don't deserve. Or dozens of other things that make each project, every social media post, every live stream, every episode an absolute gauntlet for the creator. It is risky and it is exhausting. And the third thing is that it's often thankless. Most content creators put a lot of time and effort into projects that almost no one will ever see. There are no accolades, no rewards. They make absolutely no income from it. And sometimes they get no positive comments at all. And they do this week after week, year after year, because they're driven by their passion for their craft, their love for the little community they made, and the hope that someday their hard work will reach someone whose life's going to be changed, whose heart they'll connect with, and all that work will be validated. I know streamers who are consistent and kind and passionate and really good at what they do, who never get more than 10 viewers. They often sit at 4 or 5. I know YouTubers who put a ton of work into their videos that are actually really, really good videos, and they can't break a dozen views. I know passionate online missionaries who work so hard to make an interesting and vibrant community, only to be faced with a wall of apathy, or have 1 or 2 people come in, be horrible, and decimate their work. I know content creators who, with every project they send out, struggle with fear, imposter syndrome, feeling like they want to quit every single time. But they keep rallying themselves for one more project, one more post, one more stream, one more episode. I know creators who are constantly sending out polls and questions and changing their content and reworking all of their everything all the time, because they keep watching videos and reading articles about how to be successful and how to do this, and they just want some kind of validation. And it's infinite amounts of work for them that no one ever sees. I know creators who have ruined their backs, their knees, their wrists, their eyes, their stomachs because of the repetitive strain of what they do and the stress associated with it. I know creators who have talked to their mom and dad, their teachers, their friends, their pastors, who shared their heart, shared their idea, shared their content, and what they feel that God is calling them to share their love in a world that fits them so perfectly. And the response was to be mocked, rejected, threatened, embarrassed, or told flat out that what they want to do is evil, without even a conversation. Which means I know a lot of creators who are deeply lonely, feel invalidated, have lost close relationships, have given themselves wholly to the digital space because people IRL rejected them because of their content creation. People whose mental health is really, really difficult to manage because of everything we talked about, who are often falling apart as they create their content. People who have literally, taken to doing content creation in secret, never telling anybody they love about it, never telling anybody in their neighborhood, in their school, in their groups about it, because they don't want to be hurt again about something they love. But they still create. They still take the risk. They suck it up at their own expense. They plod on for hours and hours and hours every day, alone, under attack, under the microscope, because of their love for the craft, because of their love for the online community, and because they feel that God is really in what they do. The potential is there. They want to change the world, and they feel invited by God to do it. And then someone comes along and tells them that what they do, their dream, their passion, their community, their ministry, is a waste of time. So let me ask you again. Is content creation a real job or not?